Okay, so if you've ever fired a resume off into the great unknown, feeling totally sure it was just eaten by some heartless algorithm, you're definitely not alone. It is maybe the most frustrating part of the whole job search. But what if I told you the robot isn't the real villain here? Because the real story, well, it's a lot more human. And honestly, it's something you can actually fix.
Wow. Okay, that's a pretty intense statement, right? And it comes straight from a former recruiter who admits they were part of the problem. They're making the case that we're all blaming the technology for what's really a human issue. So if it's not the applicant tracking system, the ATS, then what on earth is really going on with your resume?
All right, let's just bust this myth right now. We all have this image of some super smart AI scanning our resume for keywords and just tossing it in the digital trash before a person even lays eyes on it. And look, while some really basic filtering might happen, like, checking if you have a specific degree, this recruiter says that the vast majority of resumes sail right through the software and land in a human's inbox. No problem. So your resume made it. It's in the inbox. But so are hundreds of others, and that's where the real game begins. See, it's not about passing some machine's test anymore. Now it's about surviving the split-second scan of a very busy, very overwhelmed person. To really get this, we have to step into a recruiter's shoes for a minute. The person we're hearing from describes a job with just immense pressure and a staggering amount of stuff to get through. It's a constant race against time. The numbers really paint a picture of what they're truly up against. First off, for every single job you apply to, that recruiter is probably looking at around 200 other applications. That is a literal mountain of resumes to get through for just one open position. And it's not like that's the only thing they're working on. Oh no, they're typically juggling 15 to 20 different jobs at the same time. So you do the math, 200 resumes times 15 jobs. I mean, it gets completely insane really fast. So what's the result of all that pressure? Well, your resume. That document you poured hours into getting just right gets an average of 8 seconds. 8 seconds of attention before a recruiter makes a snap decision. Yes or no. That's it. This quote from the recruiter just hits you, right? It's not that they don't care. It's that they literally don't have the time. When you're faced with that kind of workload, you have no choice but to skim. Most resumes just never, ever get a deep read. So what in the world happens in that tiny 8-second window? It's definitely not a deep dive into your career history. It's more like a lightning-fast scan where recruiters use these mental shortcuts to sort people as quickly as possible. They've got a system, a little checklist in their head, to decide if you're worth another look. And here's basically what that checklist looks like. First, their eyes dart to your most recent job title. Does it look like a match? Check. Next is that very first bullet point something impressive or just a boring old task? Then, a quick glance. Do I recognize any of these company names? And based on that, in a flash, a decision is made. Keep or reject. And here's the really tragic part of this whole process. Your absolute best work, your most incredible achievements, those game-changing projects, if they're on page 2 or hiding 3 bullet points down, they might as well not even be on there. The recruiter is simply never going to see them. Okay, so that's the pretty bleak reality. But the good news is, once you understand the real problem, you can actually design a solution. The whole goal is to stop trying to please some imaginary robot and start making your resume easy for an overwhelmed human to read. You need what we're calling a human-first resume. Look at this. This is probably the single most important change you can make. On the left, you've got this passive, task-based thing. It's just what you did. But on the right, that's an active, impact-focused result. It's what happened because of what you did. Grew engagement by 150%. I mean, that's a headline. It grabs your attention right away. So let's put this all together. To survive that 8-second scan, your most recent job title needs to look like a perfect match for the role. Then you lead every single job description with your biggest, most powerful, numbers-driven accomplishment. Cut all the filler. Trust me, nobody is reading a 3-line paragraph about your last company. You have to put your absolute best stuff right at the top of page 1. The main idea is just this. Don't make them dig. Your value should be impossible to miss. So as we start to land the plane here, the one thing I really want you to take away is this massive shift in perspective. You are not writing a technical document for a computer. You are writing a marketing document for a tired, busy, and probably pretty distracted human. Look, recruiters aren't evil. They're not lazy. They're not lazy. They're just people trying to do a really demanding job under a ton of pressure, and they adapt. A truly great resume understands that reality. It's designed to be skim-friendly. It's designed to deliver the most important info with the biggest punch in the shortest amount of time. This last quote from our recruiter really says it all, doesn't it? You can't fix the whole recruiting industry, but you absolutely can fix the first impression your resume makes. If you focus on winning that first 8 to 10-second window, you massively increase your odds of getting from the skim pile into the actually read pile. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Go pull up your resume right now. If a recruiter only gave it 8 seconds, what would they actually see? Is your absolute proudest accomplishment right there at the top, shining like a beacon? Or is your best work buried down low, just waiting for a deep read that might never, ever happen?